in town Saturday night football. Of course, the eyes of the nation will be watching the Garnet Gold as well as the Orange and Regalia, an old school ACC Atlantic rivalry. My name's Brian Kelly. If you don't already know, I'm the sports director here at Wctv, and of course, the guy you wanted to see, the voice of the Seminoles, Jeff Culhane. We're going to show that interview here momentarily, but first, wanted to let you know we do this sporadically on Thursday nights throughout the football season. We've got you covered. If you're with us on Facebook, give us a like if you haven't already. If you're with us on YouTube on WCTV Sports, first of all, thank you very much. Second of all, subscribe if you can. We're so close to 300 subscribers now on the WCTV Sports YouTube page. We'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell too. You've probably heard other videos say that by now. Notifies you when we have fresh new content for you on the way. Listen, we've got a lot to delve into. We've got a lot of stuff to get to, but first, did of course want to finally let you know, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, please put them in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. We'll be monitoring them both. When the interview is done, we'll come back. We'll see if we can't maybe answer a couple of those, get your thoughts on the air in front of a pivotal week for Florida State. So let's get right into it. This week's Voice to Voice with myself and, of course, the voice of the Seminoles, Mr. Jeff Culhane. A big week here at Bobby Bowden Field, Doak Campbell Stadium. Ryan Kelly, voice of the Seminoles, Jeff Culhane with you. Jeff, let's just dive right into it. It's been a tough 2 weeks for the Florida State football team. You lose a game here at home against Wake Forest, in a game where, honestly, they just kind of out-executed you in some key moments. But going back to Saturday, Raleigh, Carter Finley Stadium, a place that, of course, Florida State fans know all about the history of and the many tough games that Florida State's had there. It was a game you really had through 30 minutes of this one, and the Wolfpack come back, they make the plays, they make the adjustments down the stretch, and really take a game that you probably feel you should have won.
No question. It was tough, Ryan. It was tough. That was a game where you knew 30 minutes in that Florida State was the better team, but you also knew, as you mentioned, weird things have happened at Carter Finley. And so you got to come out and you got to play the final 30 minutes and give North Carolina State a lot of credit. They made adjustments specifically on the defensive side of the football. And even with some of the self-imposed issues and the penalties that Florida State had, they still had a chance at the end to go up and potentially find a way to win that game. And so even with the miscues, the penalties, you have a different quarterback that comes in after Devin Leary goes down. So that changes things a little bit. All that put together, this team still was right there, and they felt like obviously they should have won the game. Now it's about, as you talk to and hear from Mike Norvell and this coaching staff and the student athletes, it's about learning from those mistakes. It's about the attention to the details. It's about, playing with that high level of energy, but not crossing that line with some of the penalties that were thrown the way of FSU because of some mental lapses. So you're right. The last 2 weeks have been tough. Last Saturday in Raleigh was not a whole lot of fun. Now you're going to move on and turn the page because it doesn't get any easier with Clemson coming to town.
It most certainly does not. But going back to what you said, sometimes the lapses over the last 2 weeks, penalties have kind of been a killer. And I think in the case of Wake Forest, Wake's rarely a team that's going to beat itself. If you get yourself behind the chains, if you get those penalties, you're going to hurt. But when it comes to NC State, it does just kind of feel strange over these last 2 weeks. I think some Florida State fans maybe looked at it and thought, I kind of felt like they'd take a step past this. I kind of felt like they'd taken a step forward, straining a little too much. Yeah, and I almost wonder if the changing expectations that Florida State had seen over the last couple weeks, the idea that it went from, oh, wow, if we take care of business here, the Atlantic is within our grasp. I wonder if maybe that didn't permeate into the locker room a little bit. Maybe guys strained just a little too much.
Very well could have. It's a great question. And I don't know if I can give you an honest answer to it overall. But watching this group, you're playing better teams as well.
100%.
That's a huge part of it too. Is your first 4 wins. The LSU team you beat is a top 25 caliber team. You're expected to beat Duquesne. The Louisville game, another tough place to play. You come through and win that one. And Boston College is a team that's not going to make a bowl game this year. That was a game Florida State was expected to win. I think there's a little bit of, a mentality of, hey, we got to get over the hump and find ways to win against these teams. And sometimes that takes a little bit of time. And Who knows? Who knows? To answer your question, could something like that have crept into the locker room? That's a good question. I'm not sure the answer of that overall, but this group, as they continue to get closer, you feel like they're right there to accomplish something impressive. And the hope from a Florida State perspective, my hope for them is it happens here on Saturday night because they put the work in. You hear Mike Norvell's passion about how he loves this team and what they're all about. They're doing things the right way, Ryan, and it feels like they're ready for a big breakthrough with a big opportunity coming up.
And, 100% dealing with that, because all the woes and all the problems, they completely go out the door if you beat a rival here at home, one that you haven't beat at home since 2014. The Clemson Tigers, will get into the X's and O's of that in a second, but beating your rivals, taking care of business, of course, not necessarily a rivalry with the history that Florida and Miami have, but certainly one that's become very, very important in terms of the picture of this conference. What would a win here mean against a Clemson Tiger squad that is right now sitting at about a field goal favorite tonight or Saturday night?
It means the world. And you said it a little bit ago. You win the game against Clemson, you feel like the last couple of weeks wash away. And I think it elevates you as a top 25 team again. It potentially elevates you as a top 20 team, depending on what shakes out around the rest of the country in college football. But what it does is it continues to give that same feel that Mike Norvell has talked about, validation to his message that he is preaching. Not that the players need it or he needs it, because they believe. This group believes in the path they're on and where they're going and the message that is being preached by Coach Norvell and the staff. It's the validation from a standpoint of winning. And that's what everyone else on the outside sees, right? Overall, that's how you create that message and that validation, and you improve and continue to elevate that brand of Florida State football back to where Mike Norvell and everybody wants it to go. So it creates another level of energy, another level of excitement, and it gives you a big kick of momentum heading into a bye week with another home game around the corner in Georgia Tech at the end of the month.
100%. One of the big keys that I think a lot of people would be looking at for this Florida State Clemson game is just who's going to be playing and 100% in this game. And Dominic Miranda and I, talking to the press box on Saturday in Raleigh, kind of remarked that it seemed like every five plays, Mike Norvell and the training staff are coming out on the field. Football's a war of attrition. There's no doubt about it. But Florida State has been losing so many key pieces. Of course, still waiting for Fabian Lovett to return to the field. We're not sure about Trayshawn Ward. Of course, certainly seems like he got a good report on Monday. But you get Ja'Kai Douglas back, so you have that going for you. Maybe a little bit of an evening out, but certainly this is a team that can afford to be healthier right now.
We'll love to see it, and coupled with the fact it feels like Clemson's getting healthy too. If you hear what Dabo Swinney is saying about what they've got coming back along the defensive line.
That tough front seven's getting tougher.
Yes, it is, with Brian Brzee and company. Their secondary as well. Sharon Jones potentially is available, and some of the pieces they have on the offensive side of the football. But yeah, you're exactly right, Ryan. I mean, I was thinking the same thing. The defensive line is playing a physical style and the physical brand, and they are working their tails off. And I think for 4 quarters on Saturday night in Raleigh, we saw at one point in time each position group have somebody go down with a nagging injury up front along that defensive line. And so the thing I love about this team is the next man up mentality. Unintended consequences of those injuries are young guys step up and have the opportunity to shine. And we've seen that from Patrick Payton out of Miami Northwestern, career high 6 tackles Saturday at NC State. Joshua Farmer from Port St. Joe has been fantastic and has been in the backfield and disrupting plays with the quarterback as well. And so, a line that I've heard in past conversations with coaches who are dealing with injuries, the fact of the matter is no one else cares outside of your room. Clemson's not going to care who's in or who's hurt or who's out. They're going to come and play. And so you got to put the 11 that are available, go out and do whatever you can to find a way to win.
It's like Lou Holtz used to say, half the people don't care about your problems and the other half are happy you got them.
Yeah, exactly.
We're for that kid who just scored his first goal. We're for the new hire who's just looking to fit in. We're for that person who's impossible to shop for. We're for congratulating you on all your years of hard work. We're awards for you, and we're for helping you celebrate life's special moments.
Madison RV and Golf Resort is a camper and golfer's dream. We invite you to come stay with us, play our challenging layout, 18 tee boxes and 9 championship holes, rolling terrain, and a golf training facility. Catch and release fish, relax in our new pool or play pickleball. Madison RV and Golf Resort is the perfect location to enjoy the outdoors in a relaxing, fresh air atmosphere. Madison RV and Golf Resort, Madison, Florida, just off I-10. Reserve your spot today. MadisonRVResort.com.
When you take a look at this Clemson Tigers squad, of course, so much talk going into the preseason when it came to Clemson was about the quarterback position. DJ Uiagalelei did not have the 2021 that a lot of people thought he would. He seems to have gotten better as the season has gone on. In your prep, trying to get things together, what's really stood out to you about the Clemson signal caller?
Well, he's obviously, it's been very well documented. He's changed his body. He's lost the weight. He's moving much better. He's more and more confident, more and more comfortable. They're utilizing him in design quarterback run, and it's a power quarterback run game. It's not trying to get him out along the edge or along the perimeter. He's a big guy, so they're using that size, and he is shifty enough and has great vision where he's not the fastest or the most athletic or agile player, but he's big enough and good enough to make you miss and cause you maybe to see a ghost here or there as a tackler coming up to hit him. And so he's playing with more and more enthusiasm for the game. You know, even at the start of the year, you heard some of the rumors that he might not make it through the season, would get benched in favor of their backup quarterback, the young man from Austin, Texas. And so he has obviously blocked a lot of that noise out. Played great at Wake Forest, a 5-touchdown day there in their double overtime win in Winston-Salem. And he's just continued to develop and grow off of that. Now, I'll say this, though, even with his success and with Clemson being 6-0, I like the way this Florida State defense is playing right now, how hungry they have been, getting to the football, getting to the quarterback. Jared Verse just named to the Bednarik midseason watch list. So this is going to be a fun matchup across the board with what FSU does and what Clemson brings to the table. I think there's some opportunity there for the Seminoles.
Absolutely. But you're talking about that Clemson offense. It can't just be the quarterback. There's, of course, a really talented running back there by the name of Will Shipley. The sophomore has looked he's lived up to every bit of the promise that he showed as a freshman in 2021, a power runner that really doesn't look like a guy who's just making his second year in college.
Well, so versatile. And I think you saw a year ago the potential like you talked about, and as a true freshman being put into some situations where, he had a lot of success, but you also watched and you could see the upside too, where the more he learns the speed of the game and the more he's able to get in the weight room and grow and develop, he's going to be really, really good. It didn't take long. I mean, he is a guy that's got 19 career rushing touchdowns a year and a half into his collegiate career. They use him into the return game. Talking with special teams coordinator John Papuchis earlier in the week, he talked about how he thought Shipley was the difference in the second half in that game that Florida State nearly pulled off in an upset win last year in Death Valley. And so Shipley's phenomenal. I'm really impressed by Bo Collins, who is a tremendous receiver, has been in the end zone in every game but one this year. And Ryan, watch out for their tight ends. I tell you what, Austin Kelly, Ryan Brenningstool, that entire group, those guys are dangerous in the red zone and have had huge impact in putting the football and putting 6 on the board for this offense.
On the other side of the ball, we touched on it very briefly. That is a front seven that will go against anybody in the college game, period. There is a little bit of a weakness on that back end. At least it certainly seems like it sometimes with the eye test. I know they've gotten healthier there as well. If you're Jordan Travis, you're going to have to maybe create some time to get some of your receivers open. You know it can be done. We saw Wake Forest do it a couple weeks ago against the Tigers in Winston-Salem. It's just a matter of, can you just make sure that front seven doesn't get home on you?
Man, that's a tough challenge. And I know Florida State's offensive line is excited about the opportunity. But yeah, you said it right there. That's a group up front that has NFL first-round projected draft picks in their defensive line. They're going to play 9-10 deep, and they're going to come at you from a lot of different angles. Guys like Henry, Ruka Rororo, Brian Brzee is healthy now after missing 2 games with a kidney infection. He is back. Miles Murphy is one heck of a player, and the way they're able to get to the quarterback. And another thing, RK, that I see, take a look at their pass breakup numbers as well as a defensive line. They get their hands in the air, and they knock the football down a lot. at the line of scrimmage. And so they've got, you talked about the front seven, the back end, they're trying to get healthy. Tyler Venable is a guy that missed last week against Boston College. They have got some impressive pieces, certainly. And I like your point. Jordan Travis is going to have to play off script at some point in time in this game. And when you get off script and maybe you get sped up a little bit, what's your decision-making process like? Can you make the right decisions? Can you throw the ball on time and on target? We've seen Jordan do that well more than majority of the time this season.
You know, special teams isn't something we always break down, but this is a game that a lot of folks in the desert think might come down to a field goal. Ryan Fitzgerald kicks the long field goal before the half, of course, breaks that drought that he'd been under. Obviously, you know, as someone, I know we've talked about this before, as someone who covered him in high school, know what a phenomenal leg he has. We get to see it in practice all the time. But mentally, just to see one go through, it's not like the yips and golf or baseball where, hey, you're going to get more cracks at it. There's another game tomorrow. There's another tournament next weekend. You'll play at least 2 rounds. If you're a kicker, you miss, everybody immediately goes, well, can we do that again? Can we? What do you think the importance maybe can be of just seeing one go through the uprights?
I thought it was a pretty special moment after he made the 47-yarder, Ryan, and seeing Alex Mastromano bear hug him, the entire team come out to near midfield and celebrate as if it was a game, you know, walk-off winner with the war chant playing in the background. It was pretty special, and it can mean the world. I know a lot of people have been down on Ryan Fitzgerald, and a lot of the time the kicker gets probably more blame than is needed to be sent his way. And I was happy for him to see him crush that thing and put it through the pipes from 47 yards out. He's the guy. We've heard this coaching staff talk about their confidence in him. That's not going to change. It was nice to see him have that success. So very, very important. We're going to see Ryan Fitzgerald in a pressure situation, having to kick a field goal here at Bobby Bowden Field on Saturday night. And I'm excited to see him respond just like he responded late in that first half at NC State.
So the question we always ask, it's going to be a tough ask. We talked about it a little bit on Sunday in our report. It's going to take a complete 4 quarters from Florida State. This is not one that you can put out 30 minutes and then hold on for dear life. Clemson's too good of a team for that. For Florida State to take care of business, get this win over their rival, break a long losing streak to one of their biggest rivals, and really, I think, kind of change nationally what the perception of this game could be. Saturday Night Football's in town. You know, you've got Kirk and Chris Fowler in town. But what would a win like this do? And also, what's it going to take to get a win like this?
Yeah, a win is going to, I think, put a lot of people on notice what a lot of these coaches that Florida State, opposing coaches, guys like Dabo Swinney, are saying. Everybody around the country, a win would let everyone know and signal, okay, Florida State is a really, really good football team, and they are on their way back to where they want to go and where they've been before in years past. How does it happen? You know, I don't think you have to see Florida State play perfect by any means to win this game against Clemson. Do they have to play well? Absolutely. You have to play well to beat the types of teams. So you got to eliminate the mistakes, and Mike Norvell talked about that Monday in his press conference. To beat these types of teams, the veteran teams like NC State and Wake Forest, the talented team like Clemson, you can't have these self-imposed penalties and infractions. You've got to eliminate all of that, and you have to create some problems for the opposition on the other side. Always talk about a fast start. I think this team has shown they can do that on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. I think slowing down DJ Uiagalelei in the running game is going to be very, very important. Not allow him to extend plays and not allow him to cause some problems in the design quarterback run game as well. And can you rattle him, force some turnovers, get this crowd into it here, and turn this place into the type of atmosphere that it has been, could be again on Saturday night. So I don't think you need to see a perfect game. Play well, eliminate some of those mental mistakes, and you're going to see this Florida State team with a chance to win at the end of the night.
I feel like you hit the nail right on the head there, Jeff, because a fast start would mean everything to getting the students that'll be sitting to our right here involved. It'll mean everything into getting this crowd that's going to be close to capacity, if not at capacity, at full throat. Make Clemson kind of suffer through something like that. Make them go through something like that. This isn't a team that's been tested on the road exactly so far this year. Winston-Salem, arguably the toughest road trip that it's had to make. And with all due respect to Wake, it's not Doak Campbell Stadium.
No, it's not. 32,000 sounds a lot different than 79,000 strong on a Saturday evening under the lights in prime time. I can't wait. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is what college football is all about. This is what Florida State football is all about. And it's right in front of this group. They've been right there the last couple of weekends, as we talked about, Ryan. I think there's something exciting coming. I think there's a real chance that we're going to see a big moment for Mike Norvell and this team Saturday late into the evening.
Hey, this is why you come to programs like Florida State to play in big games like this on Saturday Night Football. Hopefully, we're talking about a Florida State win the next time we're talking.
Yep, absolutely.
Jeff Culhane, appreciate
you, sir. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Our thanks, as always, to the voice of the Seminoles, Jeff Culhane, for taking that time with us on Voice to Voice. And I got to tell you, Jeff and I see this one pretty similarly. Clemson's a good team. They're one of the 5 best teams in the country pretty consensusly. They were a pick for the college football playoff at the beginning of the year. But we all know for the last 2 years, Clemson has not looked like the dominant monster that they had for quite some time with Deshaun Watson and later Trevor Lawrence under center. It's not going to take a perfect game, but it is going to take your best game to beat the Clemson Tigers. It means, yeah, you may make mistakes, but you can't let those mistakes snowball. Yeah, you can't let yourself turn the ball over. You have to be good situationally to knock off a team like Clemson. If you get yourself a couple turnovers, you get a plus in that margin, who knows? This will be the toughest environment that Clemson has gone into all year long. Their first real, true, big-time road test, Doak Campbell Stadium, going to be pretty well sold out, if not completely sold out. Going to be a phenomenal atmosphere. Hey, if you have any questions, put them in the live chat. I'll wait and chat with you here for just a couple more minutes, see if anybody's got any comments or questions. But overall, you know, I don't want to say this is a one-sum game, but I feel like we were pretty comprehensive there. Offensively, you can't sputter. You've got to have 4 quarters. You have to be consistent. Who knows what Trayshawn Ward's status is going to be for this game? He, of course, had kind of emerged as the star tailback for FSU throughout the season. Lawrence Toafili and Trey Benson going to have to carry the load. What does Ja'Kai Douglas factor into this game, if he factors in at all, if he's ready to go? Does Fabian Lovett play on the other side? Because stopping Will Shipley is probably going to require his presence. If he does play, is he on a pitch count? How many snaps is he allowed to play for Adam Fuller's defense throughout this game? There's a whole lot to bring into. And then, of course, Ryan Fitzgerald. Of course, we love him, from Colquitt County, guy that we've covered for a long time here on WCTV. He was able to snap that cold streak at the end of half. And I'm happy that Jeff pointed out just how happy that team was for him. You want to know what's going on with that Florida State culture, what's going on in that locker room? Celebrating with a guy that's been down for a little bit, who's been able to pick himself up, get that one through the pylons, so excuse me, the uprights, able to nail it through, able to knock it through. Awesome. You know, 2 straight losses, now going into this one. Reminds you a little of that 2010 game, doesn't it? Let's hope it's not. Let's hope it's a little more fun to watch than at least the very end of that 2010 game when Dustin Hopkins hit that 55-yard field goal. But Florida State's got their goals in front of them. Florida State's got a big-time opponent in front of them, because if you knock out Clemson, a lot of the problems and worries of the last 2 weeks, they wash away. You need the Tigers to lose one more if you really want to get back into the ACC Atlantic race. But for now, I think you'll just take ending that losing streak, which it's hard to believe dates all the way back to 2014 here in Doak Campbell Stadium. Of course, that overtime victory. Carlos Williams finds the end zone. Dabo Sweeney's offense stuffed on 4th down. That's that game that Jameis Winston didn't play. Sean McGuire had to come in. All right, one last call for comments, one last call for questions. Let's see. You will not beat Clemson. FSU's just not that good for Clemson. And, you know, you may be right. Who knows? But Clemson's faced some tough ones before. Clemson's faced a couple to the wire before. Clemson hasn't really played that much of a complete game either. That's what I really feel like can come into play here. If someone plays a full 60-minute game, yeah, if Clemson comes in, plays their best for 60 minutes, Florida State probably won't beat them. But the thing is, we haven't really seen that from the Tigers all year long. One last check for questions, comments. Well, seeing none, we're going to wrap this thing on up here. As always, our thanks to the voice of the Noles, Jeff Culhane, for joining us for Voice to Voice. We'll be back just probably here in the next couple weeks or so, maybe even next week, with another edition of this. Of course, be sure to join us at 11, Florida State and Duke playing soccer. Leon and Giles playing football at Gene Cox Stadium. We've got a big football Friday night coming up tomorrow. And then, of course, Saturday, a big one, Florida State and Clemson. The Rattlers on the road at Grambling. Valdosta State, happy homecoming to the Blazers as they play the Mississippi College Choctaw. We'll have all that for you throughout the weekend on WCTV. But for now, Sports Director Ryan Kelly saying good night, everybody.